Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be looking at some practice activities when we're naming alkanes, right? So I'm not going into too much because alkenes are going to come up soon and our alkyl groups are going to come up, but we're going to practice naming our alkanes using substituents. Well, that is if substituents are present. Right, so the first thing that I want us to do whenever we're naming is that we're going to identify the longest continuous carbon chain. That's the first thing that we're going to do, identify the longest continuous carbon chain. Right, now the next thing that we're going to do, number 2, we're going to start naming from the back. So we're going to name the suffix, which is the functional group. Right, so remember that if it's alkane, it gets ANE, alkene, ENE, alcohol, it gets OL, and carboxylic acid, it gets oic acid, as we can see right here. And then we're going to name the prefix, and remember that the prefix tells us the amount of carbons present, right? So for example, if we have 1 carbon, right, that's meth, 2 eth, 3 prop, 4 bute, 5 pen, 6 hex, 7 hept, 8 oct, 9 non, and 10 dec. Right, the next thing that we're going to do, which is step 5, is that we're going to name the substituent. We looked at some substituents earlier, right? If it's chlorine, it gets chloro, bromine, it gets bromo, iodine, it gets iodo, and fluorine gets fluoro. All right, I think I spelled this incorrect. It should be FLUORO. Right, and then number 5, the last thing that we're going to do is that we're going to tell the position of our substituent. And remember that the substituent gets the lowest possible number. Right, so let's get into naming. The first one that we're going to name is this one right here. I'm going to call it number 1. All right, and for number 1, remember the first thing we do is that we identify the longest continuous carbon chain. Right, this is our longest continuous carbon chain right here. Okay, nice. And we don't see any other carbons, we don't see any substituents, so we can keep it at that. The next thing that we're going to do is that we name from the back end. So we name the suffix, right? I remember that the suffix is the functional group. So in this case, we only have C single bond C, right? C single bond C. And so that would be an alkane. So the ending is going to be ANE. I hope we're following. Right, I'm going to put a plus sign here. Now we're at the prefix. So let me put suffix here. Prefix here. All right, now we're going to name the prefix. Remember that the prefix is the amount of carbons in the longest continuous chain. Right, so this continuous chain has 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And for 4 is bute, so it's gonna be BUT. And when we combine these two, our name is butane. Remember that there are no substituents, so we don't need to continue going any further, right? So that is butane. What I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use this as our let me see if I can. All right, so it's easier when we are doing it. Nice. Okay, so let us do this one right here. I'm going to call it number 2. All right, and remember, when we're naming, the first thing we do is that we identify the longest continuous carbon chain. Right, so that is our longest continuous carbon chain. There are no substituents and no branches. Right, so next we're going to do the back end. We're going to do the suffix. which is the functional group. As you can see, it's only C single bond C, only C single bond C, so that would be ane at the end, ANE, right? For the prefix, it's the longest chain, the amount of carbons in the longest chain. So we have 1, 2, 3 carbons, and for 3 carbons, do you want to take a guess? Right, for 3 carbons, it is prop. But that we don't have any substituents, and since we don't have any substituents, there's no position. So the name for this compound is simply gonna be propane. Right, so that is propane right there. All right, so let us look at another one. All right, okay. Remember, the first thing that we do, we identify the longest continuous carbon chain. All right, so the longest one is here, right here. Okay, next we're gonna do the suffix. The suffix is the functional group present, and it is only C single bond C that I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing C single bond C bond, so that would of course be alkane. Right, now we're at the prefix, which is the amount of carbons in the longest chain, and we have 1, 2, 3 carbons, so it's gonna be 3 meth F prop, it's gonna be prop. Right, and we do have a substituent actually, right, and I use the blue just as a little highlight. Our substituent in this case is Cl. Right, this is our substituent right here. And how do we name the Cl group? Do you remember how we name the Cl group or the Cl substituent? Right, so in this one it's gonna be chloro. And of course, we cannot forget that we need to identify the position of the chloro, right? And in this case, chloro is on carbon number 2. Yes, it's on carbon number 2. If I were to do it the other way around, it would still be 1, 2, 3. No matter which way we take it, chlorine is still on carbon number 2. So the lowest possible number for chlorine would be 2. Now, how we write this is that whenever you're writing the numbers, you have to put a dash between the numbers and the words. So the correct name for this compound is going to be 2-2-chloropropane. That's the name of it. It looks long, but once you understand what is going on, it will seem very simple. So that's 2-chloropropane. All right, for the next one, I'm at number 2, and let me see if I can actually okay, I think I'm approaching my limits for my wording, so let me see how fast I can get this done. All right, let me just shrink this a little. All right, nice. So for this one, let us go. Remember, the first thing we do, we identify the longest continuous carbon chain. So in this case, it's this right here, right? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons. I hope this red line is not bugging anybody. So let me just draw this back. All right, yes, so we can still see our single bonds. All right, the next thing after doing our longest continuous chain is that we need to identify the suffix. And in this case, since it's carbon to carbon single bonds only, as you can see, C single bond C, all of these are C single bond C, so it would be alkane. So it's going to be ANE, ANE. Right, for the prefix, the longest continuous carbon chain, we have a total of 6 carbons. For 6, the number is hex, or the prefix is hex. Okay, now we do have a substituent. The substituent is Br. What's the name for Br? All right, the name is bromo. right? And we need to identify the position of the bromo group, right, or the bromo substituent. And I'm gonna use both directions to see which one gives us the lowest possible number. So in this case it is 4, but let me start from this order here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, and as we can see, out of 3 and 4, 3 is the lowest possible number, so I'm going to use 3 for the position. So therefore, our name of this compound is 3-bromohexane. 3-bromohexane. We don't say the dash, it's just 3-bromohexane. Right, but when you're writing, you have to include your dash, right? I believe we have 2 more, and I hope my story doesn't end here. Or we have 3 more. Right. Now for this one, and you can pause and actually try to name it before I do. Yes. Let me just add this as well. Okay, so for this one, once again, we need to identify the longest continuous carbon chain. We have 1, 2, 3 carbons. All right. Now we need to do our suffix. The suffix is the functional group, right? It's only C single bond C, so that would of course be N, right? And for prefix, it's the longest continuous carbon chain. We have 3 carbons, right? So it's gonna be 3 is meth-eth-prop. Then we need to do our suffix, right? In this case, we have I as a suffix, and for I, we name it as iodo, right? And we need to identify the position using the lowest possible number, right? So I'm going to do both ways. In this way, I started at 1. Let me do the other way. 1, 2, 3, right? Out of 1 and 3, the lowest number is 1. So therefore, the name of this compound is 1-iodo-propane. Okay, now in this one here, there is 2 of the same substituent, right? Let me just copy this again. Copied. All right, nice. Okay, so once again, let us go. We start with the longest continuous carbon chain, right? So for the longest one, it goes this way. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons, right? Now we need to do our suffix. For the suffix, of course, it's the homologous series, right? The functional group. In this case, we always see in C single bond C, so it is A-N-E. Right, for the prefix, it's the longest continuous carbon chain. We have 4 carbons. 4 is bute, right? And for the substituent, we have 2 substituents, and look at how we're doing this. We have 2 substituents, and it's the same, so it still gets bromo. It still gets bromo. However, because it is 2 bromos, it gets di, right? If it were 3 bromos, it would be like a tri-bromo, right? And if it was 4, it would be tetra. So if it's 3 of the same, it is tri, 4 of the same, tetra, and 2 of the same, di, right? And this is very important. Now, when we have twins come out of the womb, they each get their own position. One come first, one come second, right? Right. So what we're going to do is we have to give both of them their own position, right? And let us look at the position from both angles to see what we're going to get. So we did that way earlier. Let me try the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our bromo groups are on these 2, and either way we take it, it's going to be 2, 3, right? So for this here, it's going to be 2, 3, right? We have to use a comma to separate to show that, hey, this is the position for one, this is the position of the other, right? So it is, the overall name is going to be 2, 3 dibromobutane. All right, and we have one last one that we're going to look at.